All right, what up, everybody on YouTube? If you don't know who I am, my name is Aaron Washington, and welcome to the channel. On this channel I post helpful trumpet tutorials, practice tips, and play along exercises every week, and I come live on this channel every week. So, welcome to the channel. Today, no trumpet playing today. I'm just going to be talking about a subject that I had a question about today. So, if you guys are here, then let me know you're here. Say what's up. I love to see new faces, or I can't really see your faces, but I love to see new people coming in the chat. Love to see returning members. So let me know who you are and say what's up. So today I had a question this morning about performance anxiety, and his name is Tom, and I'm not gonna say his last name, but I'm just gonna let you know like what he was telling me, like his story. So I'm just gonna share that really quickly, because he asked me this morning, and I thought it would be a good time to address it to you all, the community. Besides just giving him just a singular answer on Facebook. So this is what he says. He says, I want to hear what you have to say about performance anxiety slash nerves. I'm always fine in rehearsals, but then in performances, in solos, I freeze. And sometimes can't even get a sound out. Would love to hear what you have to say. He says, I've been playing for about 11 years now and have always loved performing. It's just been in these last 2 years or so, I have really lost all of my confidence. So before I get into it, into the tips, I have 5 tips for you guys today. Let me know if I'm sounding good and if I'm looking good. Um, is the camera okay? Is the sound okay? Just let me know. Actually, my screen is kind of telling me orientation is locked. Rev- Rotate device back. Am I upside down or anything? I wish you guys could see like what I'm seeing. Okay. Is this good? If you guys can tell me if it's good or not, just let me know. If I'm upside down or to the side, let me know. What up, Andrew? All right. So I'm just gonna do it like this. Hopefully, I'm not in a crazy position on the screen, but that's what he told me. He said he's it was just these last 2 years. He's in college, and that he just loses confidence in himself. So I would say that the first tip I would say, and first let me say this: I had terrible performance anxiety during my undergrad. Like it was hard for me to perform without, getting really nervous and just really sounding bad, like having some bad, terrible performances like by myself. I was fine when I was performing with others, but anytime like during my lessons, I would just fold, and it was hard. But it only happened during it only happened during undergrad, during college. Before then, I was fine. Like I auditioned well. I made the top groups. I took solos in jazz band. I was featured in the community with the Rising Stars, and that was a whole recital by myself. So I just don't I didn't understand at the time why I was so nervous and so just unable to perform now at that time. So I think my first tip for anybody, and it's not in any particular order, but the first tip is, and it's gonna sting a little bit. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be really honest with yourself. Are you really practicing enough? Are you really practicing efficiently? And if there's anyone in this chat right now that can relate to anything that I'm saying right now, I need you to say like give me a one or give me a yes, or give me something because I can't be the only one. I know there's other people out there that has suffered the same things. So the first thing, hey Juliano, nice to have you. So yeah, the first tip is you have to be honest with yourself. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I practicing efficiently? Am I practicing enough? Because the first thing someone's going to ask you is, did you prepare for this event? How prepared are you? Tyson, Tyson. Hey, what exercise on condition? I actually don't know what that means. Hey, what exercises on condition? Let me know what that means. Clarify that a little bit. Dario, hey, what's up? Thanks for joining me, Dario. Now, yes, so you gotta be prepared. Like one thing that I did, and specifically when I say that you have to be prepared is you have to practice the things that you aren't good at. You have to practice the things, and you got to ignore the stuff that you are good at so you can really make your weaknesses your strengths, especially in music. In everyday life, sometimes that's not the case. You want to play on your strengths and what you're good at. But when it comes to music, and if you're doing music for fun or for a living, you really have to. Triple D, what's up? What's going on? Glad to have you. You have to double down on your weaknesses. So it's not going to sound pretty in the practice room. It's not. It has to be a practice session. It can't be a performance session for people that might be listening. I live in an apartment right now, so I can't perform. I have to practice, and sometimes, most times, it's not the prettiest thing to listen to because you have to stop and start. So my tip is you have to be honest with yourself. Mr. Pekka 13, yeah, he said yes, practicing not enough is a thing, definitely. I have to address that first because that has to be the number one thing. Because if you're not practicing or doing the things you need to do, then yes, you're going to be nervous because you're not prepared for that moment. You're not prepared enough. Victor says, "Is there a routine you have before performing? If you don't mind sharing." Oh, definitely. I can. I can. That's actually one of my tips that I'm going to be sharing. Tajan says, "How to exercise the trumpet condition." I actually still don't. I actually still don't know what you're trying to say, but Dario says, "I do my patterns even 5 minutes if I have time, but more times in a day." Simone, uh, perfect timing. Perfect timing. I just came back from school. I have another performance in the next 2 weeks. Marcello, Opa. Yeah. So yeah, you have to be prepared. I'll give you a prime example. I give you a prime example of what I'm talking about. During my undergrad, we have these things called like technical skills, like technical exams, where our professor she would test us like playing scales, playing arpeggios, playing technical studies, and this was every semester, the midweek and then the finals week. So we did this twice per semester, and there was this test where I had to play. I can't remember the exact study, but it was scales and arpeggios at a particular tempo. I think no, it was like scales. I think it was scales in fourths or scales in thirds. Either one, and and I would fail it. And the thing was, she had this policy. Dr. G had this policy where if you failed your, or for me at least, I don't know about anybody else, but if you failed your technical exam, you get an F. You get an F for that grade. You get an F for that lesson, and then I couldn't come back and continue my lessons until I passed that technical exam. So if I messed up, then that was it. I'll pack up my stuff and I had to go. I had to go back and practice, and that was it for my lesson. I got an F for that lesson. And you know, in undergrad and music school, like of course I didn't get an F in my lessons, but I got a B like 1 or 2 semesters. And if you get a B in like music school for music lessons, like you might as well have failed because the standard is an A. Like, not to say that I failed, but no one gets a B. No one gets a B in music school. And if you do, it's like, really, you got to be in music lessons. But yes, but if you can relate to this, please give me a number 1 in the chat or say something, because this was something I had to deal with. Yeah, I know I couldn't be the only one. So what I did to remedy that was I had to be honest with myself. Am I really practicing these scales in thirds or scales in fourths? And I was like, no, I'm not really practicing. I'm only practicing the ones that were easy. I wasn't practicing the ones that were hard. And was I practicing efficiently? So how I changed my practice session, I I re, I reverse engineered what it was going to be like during what the experience was going to be like during my lessons. So it will be random. She will pick a random note, and I will have to play that major scale or that minor scale in thirds or in fourths. So what I did was I got a bag, and I actually addressed this topic of performance anxiety in another live stream. I can't remember, but I wanted to use this time to address it, fully. I kind of just ran over the tips really quickly, but I wanted to use this video to really dive deep into the topic. So what I did was I got a bag full of I put some note cards together. Each note card had a letter name. All 12 notes in the chromatic scale. That was one bag. The other bag was either major or minor. So I would pick a note, and then I would pick either it was major or minor. Minor meaning melodic minor, harmonic minor, natural minor. So I would pick from those cards. And so then I would practice that. I would practice that scale in thirds at random, and I would do this like every day until I had my next test or my next lesson. And so that really helped me, really fine tune my practice and and just put the tables back on myself, saying I need to really work on this. I need to really be honest with myself to say like, this is how you need to practice. You need to find a way to be efficient. So that's number 1. You have to be honest with yourself in your practicing. So there were some comments. I don't want to miss them. And at any point during this live stream that this is really related to you, I want you to put a number 1 or say something, because I know it's not just me. There's other people out there suffering from the same thing. So we all want to feel like we're not alone in the situation. Okay? Hans says hello from Holland. Good to see you, man, again. Thank you. Mr. Pekka 13 says, what about lip conditioning, warming right before you play? Is it a must? Definitely. But I would say if you're in a performance or if you're about to perform, like you're doing a recital, don't overdo it. Don't overdo your warm up and try to prepare on the day of, or even like a couple days before maybe the day before your recital, maybe a week. You don't want to over prepare and risk tiring your chops because this is all we got. This is all we have when uh when the rubber meets the road during the performance. So you try not to over warm up. Do like a few long tones, maybe something to warm up your fingers, but don't do too much before you warm up, before you perform. Carson Johnson says, "What about auditions? Sorry if you already covered this. I just joined. No, I didn't cover this. For, I mean, for auditions, performances, it's pretty much all the same. You had those butterflies in your stomach, and because you care about it, right? So, um, I'm gonna have to go to my next. Actually, these aren't in any particular order. So let's go with my next tip um, is to trust yourself. Really trust yourself in your practice because um, I feel like the 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 less I try, the more accurate I am. If that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, then let me know. But you kind of have to let things happen in the practice room, and let things happen in performance. And what I mean by that is by trusting yourself is don't try to make that high note, or don't try to make that difficult passage. You don't make it try to get into your fingers. Um, it should all come to a place. Everything, high notes, fast passages, it should come in a place where you're the most relaxed, and you don't have to try. Like, um, if you are practicing a difficult passage, or if it's a high note, or if it's a really long etude, like everything has to come with being the most relaxed you can be at your instrument. So I would say start everything slow, where everything is easy. Everything is easy at a certain tempo. Um, but yeah, that's one tip. But when it comes to my next tip is stop comparing yourself, right? So this was a big thing for me in this was a big thing for me in the university because when I got there, there was everybody. I felt like everyone was better than me. Everybody was better than me. Yes, that's a good environment to be in because that's how you grow. But I got so my confidence just plummeted because I felt like I don't even belong here. Like there's so many people out there better than I am, and I felt like I put in the time to do the work, and how come I'm not at that level yet? But you have to appreciate your journey, right? You have to appreciate the pace that you're in, and appreciate the things that you are good at that probably your peers aren't good at. So I was there was a and two, social media has been kind of a bad thing for at least me in particular. Like when I was younger, like during my undergrad, because you see a lot of folks just playing at such high levels, and you compare yourself to them, and it, it's negative energy. It's negative energy, because it's lowering your self-esteem. You're putting negative vibes on yourself. And what I did was I took a break. I took a break from social media. Like I took a break. I stopped looking at social media. I stopped looking at Facebook. I wasn't on Instagram at the time, but I stopped looking at that stuff, and I turned off notifications. And I kind of admired my peers from afar, because there was a point in time where I would see someone play at a high level, and I would be frustrated. I would be frustrated rather than motivated when I would see them perform, right? So when it comes down to that, you kind of just have to take a break and take a step back and kind of reevaluate your mentality. So if that's you, if you have to take a break from social media because you see all these godlike players just play ridiculous stuff upside down, then I would say do that. I would say um, take a break, turn off notifications, or maybe delete the app entirely and just work on the stuff that you're working on. And don't worry about what everyone else is doing. But yeah, let me see if I have any other questions or like comments. Okay, let me address this, and let me address it further. Is there a routine you have before performing? If you don't mind sharing, and that was from Victor. For me, my routine before I perform is just clear your mind. Like I clear my mind with some music, drink water, stay hydrated. Um, like I said before, don't do too much on your warm up. Don't do too much. Just warm up the lips with some long tones and something to get your fingers going. Um, because you don't want to overdo it before you have to actually perform. So I know that's probably like a very vague answer when it comes to it, but just just be relaxed. Just be relaxed. At least for me, I like to be relaxed before I perform. I don't. I try not to look at who's in the audience. I try not to worry about who's in the audience because um, I then feel like I have to prove myself, right, with people that are in the audience. So I try to clear my mind and say like none of this matters. The only thing that matters is the music. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter who's out in the stage because my purpose here in this moment is about performing this music, being a vessel for the music, and performing the best I can. Because the rest of the stuff that I practiced, that's done. I did my job. Now it's about performing. So that's my routine. I just get relaxed, and I whatever you do that makes you relaxed, then do it. Yes, yes. He says, I remember you told me to increase my heart rate to overcome my stage fright, and it definitely worked. Great. Yeah, that's what I did, and that's another tip that I'm going to tell you guys is reverse engineer what gets you nervous. Reverse engineer, um, the symptoms you get when you perform. And for me, when I perform, like I like to play dry, on trumpet. I don't like wet lips at all because it's really slippery and I have a hard time controlling the trumpet when my embouchure is really wet. So I play dry. But when I get really nervous, like I get tons of saliva that just forms in my mouth and it just makes my mouth really, really wet. And so it's hard to, or I sweat. I sweat a lot and the sweat drips down my face and down my embouchure, and it makes it hard to really grip the mouthpiece because of the wetness. So I would say reverse engineer what gets you nervous. So what I did was in my practicing, if I was going to like for that practice session, let's say I was going to perform. Like there was going to be no practicing, but I'm just going to perform, play it all the way through one take, no matter what happened, right? So what I did was I would drink water. I would drink water and get my mouth really wet and perform that way because I know when the day comes, I'm gonna get nervous and then I'm gonna salivate a lot and I'm gonna have to deal with that. So that's something that I did. My heart rate started pumping. Um, my heart rate went up. So what would I do? I would do jumping jacks, or in the practice rooms there was stairs going up into the main floor. So I would run up and down the stairs to get my heart rate up, maybe do some push-ups, anything to get my heart rate up, and then perform because I knew I would have to deal with my heart going really fast, or I would have to be able to calm myself down so I can use my air efficiently. Because if I'm hyperventilating while I'm practicing. That's not good for musicians or even trumpet players. Um, then I will have to learn how to, calm myself down and really try to maximize the air that I have when I'm in that state. What else got me? What else got those nerves going? I would say, um, everyone gets, you know, um, everyone gets those butterflies in your stomach, right? So my performance anxiety was so bad that I would get nervous looking at someone else perform, even though they're the most relaxed on stage. Omega, what's up? Even though they were the most relaxed on stage and had the most control over their music, I would be nervous for them. That's how bad my performance anxiety was, and so I knew I had to do something about it. So what? So let me look at more comments because I know there's some folks coming in, and I'm so glad to have you guys here. And if you like what I'm sharing and these tips so far, please don't hesitate to like the video. There's 8 folks in here, and I really appreciate all you guys' attention and being here with me today. Let's see. Let me just join. Neo, he says, hey, greetings from Germany. I'm 13 years old and want to know some tips for playing high notes. Um, Cortland, he says, stop by like I promised. See you next week. Got uh, got that posted up for you. So appreciate. Cortland is awesome. He messaged me today saying that he wasn't going to make the live stream, just going to stop by and say hi. Really nice guy. All right. Sometimes when I'm about to perform, I blank out and I'm not as nervous, and I overthink by the fact that I'm not nervous and I play like crap. Yeah. So what you're saying is that you get so nervous, you overthink by the fact that you're not nervous and you play like crap. So, man, that's interesting. That's really interesting that you think you need to be nervous. So you're like, okay, what's up? Why doesn't that work? That's interesting. Javier says, you just joined. No problem. Even if you missed the beginning, there's still the replay that you can watch. Simone says, your tips are helped me a lot with my trumpet playing. I'm so glad it did. Mr. Pekka says, and yes, greetings from uh, Lat- Latvia. Latvia. Where is that? Uh, problem. Javier says, you rock, man. Thank you so much. Michael, what about improv during a gig? Improv during a gig, it, I mean, playing in general it's the same. He says, more like I'm not. Oh, okay. He says, like, excuse me. He says, like, I'm not nervous and everything is just bland. And when I begin to play, I start to mess up. So everything is bland. So you don't have any expression when you play, and you kind of play like really flat and really safe. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So I covered. Okay, so to recap, I covered. You have to be honest with yourself. Are you really practicing enough? Are you really practicing efficiently? Um, Julius, hey, what's up? So that was the first thing. Are you being honest with yourself? Are you practicing the things that you need to practice? Um, or are you just playing the stuff that you sound good on already? We all need to practice the things that we're not good at and be prepared, because that's going to be the number one thing that that's going to be the number one thing someone asks you when, or someone is thinking is, did they prepare enough, or did you practice enough? You know, and in most cases, you, you you may need to practice more. And I'm not saying practice more as in hours, but practice the things that you aren't good at. Practice that more. And then practice the stuff that you are good at. Make that something that you feel better about yourself. But always practice the things that you aren't good at. The second thing I covered was trusting yourself. So in your practicing, everything when you practice, it has to be at a relaxed state. If there's any tension in your body whatsoever when you're practicing anything, then you're always going to be a little nervous trying to hit that high note, or you're gonna always be like, that difficult passage is always going to be a stumbling block in your mind when it comes up. You're gonna be like, oh, here comes that passage. Here comes that passage. And then it may or may not happen. But when you practice, always be relaxed. Always be relaxed. Everything should feel easy, at least as easy as possible. So I would say practice slowly and practice. Be patient with yourself. Okay. So the next thing I covered is reverse engineer what gets you nervous. So does your heart rate start pumping? Do you get butterflies? Do you play dry and you salivate a lot, or does your mouth get really dry when you perform? Like kind of recreate those things in your practice. And for me, what I did was practice those things. Actually, practice those symptoms in my practice. Yes, practice those things in my practice, because then I'll figure out a way to kind of overcome those things as, in the real deal, in the real situation. So those are the three things that I covered so far. Young says, "Child from Italy. Good. Washing my dishes and hearing your good advice. Good. You did. That's awesome. That you're doing chores and also listening to me at the same time. That's cool." Michael says, "I got a Megatone 3C in December, and I didn't really like it, but I have been playing on generic 3C and really enjoyed it. What could have happened?" Mega C, Megatone 3C, and the Megatone 3C isn't that like heavier? Because I have a similar kind of big bodied Megatone ish mouthpiece, and it's the same cup, same type of cup than my Bach 3C. Um, but it's a little bit more shallow, but the rim is kind of is similar. Um, I don't know. I would say maybe it's the weight. It could be anything, man. I'm not really an expert at equipment. So I'm not the. If you have a question about equipment, all I can say is get the equipment that is right for you. That was right for you and right for the job at hand. So if you have to play a lead gig, I would not play my 3C, my Bach 3C. I would play something that helps me get higher notes. And so for me, that's my John Faddis heavyweight mouthpiece by Shilky. That's the mouthpiece that I use, because that's the job that I have to do. So, and it helps me get those notes out, and it allows me to be more efficient with my playing. But that's neither here or there. I would say get the right. I would say get the right equipment for the right job. Julia says, "You are the info I need. I only play melodies and don't know what notes I hit. Your videos help me a lot. Love from Amsterdam." And you guys are great. Thank you for letting me know. Javier says, "Yo, hi from Spain. I'm worried about my throat. Most of all, when I do flexibility, I feel like a gate opening and closing. Should I feel nothing at all, or is that normal?" Ha. He says, "Ha ha." Let me address that in just a bit after I talk about this this next tip. And if you're just joining me, and there's 6 folks in here, if you're just joining me and you're kind of liking this type of video where I'm just talking about kind of mental stuff. This is really just like mental things. And I will say anything in music or in trumpet playing, 90% of it is a mental game. So if you have your mental game and on point, then the rest of your playing will fall in line. So, all right. So let me talk about the next thing. Also, I talked about stop comparing yourself, and with today in social media, with some social media like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff, you see tons of people playing at a high level, and for me, at one time, I for me at a time, every time I saw someone playing really at a high level, I would get jealous, and I, I would get frustrated. I would get frustrated. It was just negative vibes. I was like, well, I have to kind of cut myself off from that, because instead of being frustrated, no, instead of being motivated when I see them play, I was frustrated. So you have to change your mentality to not compare yourself to others. Simone says it's so hard to compare yourself to others. I can just feel my soul leaving my body. Oh, not to compare myself to others. Um, so those are the tips I've covered so far. The other tip I want to say is when you're practicing, you have to be objective. You can't judge yourself. And when I say that, I don't mean like don't care about your practice, or kind of be not in the moment in your practice. I would say be objective. Try not to attach negative vibes to things that you do in the practice room. So say if there's this passage or this high note, and you crack it, or you don't really play it, or you miss it, or you overshoot it, instead of saying, "Oh, like I suck, like this, I can't do this," like, and you start getting down on yourself, you know, Simone says, so you're basically your own teacher. Definitely. Yeah, in at the end of the day, no one can really teach you anything. I can't really teach you anything. At the end of the day, you have to be your own teacher. Because you're the one in the practice room. Your teacher isn't in the practice room. That'll be good, I guess, if they were, but you're the one that has to really analyze your playing and take it to the next level. All the teacher can do is really guide you on the right path and give you some tools that will help you get to where you want to go. But at the end of the day, you have to be your own teacher. So I would say don't judge yourself negatively. If you miss that note, just say I missed it. Like pretend like, and there's two books that I want to recommend to you guys. And these are the two books that really helped me. There's two books that has really helped me guide my mental game and make it really strong. Because like I said before, having a strong mental game will get you to a higher level of playing. So here's the two books. The two books are The Perfect Wrong Note. This is a music book. It's kind of geared towards piano playing, but all you got to do is like switch it out mentally with like trumpet. And this is a good book to get when you need to change your mentality of practicing and how to practice better. And so, for instance, there's topics in here. And let me go to the table of contents. It says step by step, a guide to healthy practicing. All these chapters are great, but that's a great chapter. Breakthroughs. Chapter number 6 is it good to be a good student? Is it good to be a good student? Chapter 6. Now that's a great chapter. He says they say the good student syndrome, the good student in the music studio, perfectionism, sight reading, and its dangers. So that's kind of like the headline under that chapter. So I would say if you really want to revamp how you think about practicing, get this book. This isn't sponsored or anything. Um, I was because these are books that have helped me, with my practice. And another book is really popular. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. Inner Game of Tennis, the classic guide to mental side of peak performance. And what this does, if they're talking about tennis, switch it with music, switch it with trumpet. But this book, the Inner Game of Tennis, is a great book to really revamp your mind and your mental game when it comes to just performing at a high level. And maybe one of these master classes, if you guys like, I can kind of talk through this book with you, talk through one of these books with you guys, and kind of guide you through kind of my thought process or whatever, kind of like a book club maybe, if you guys want that. But those are the two books: this book and then this book, The Inner Game of Tennis and The Perfect Wrong Note. Two books that I recommend that you get if you're suffering from performance anxiety, for sure. Chris Davis says The Talent Code is another great book. I haven't read that one. All right, so Chris, I'm gonna have to read that book. And Chris, everybody should go over to Chris's YouTube channel and subscribe to pedagogy, and jazz improvisation and stuff like that. He makes some great content as well. So go over to his channel and subscribe, definitely. Okay, no problem. So let me talk about. So I talked about you have to be honest with yourself in the practice room. You have to stop comparing yourself to others, and don't let other people's success bring you down. Make sure that you have to revamp your mental game and your mentality to to let that be motivation for you rather than frustration for you. Okay, so what that means is you might have to turn off your social media. You might have to turn off your notifications or whatever. Delete the app, whatever you got to do, and just to focus on yourself. The next thing, you have to be objective in your practice. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about being passive in your practice. I'm talking about not putting negative energy or negative commentary to things that you do in the practice room. So if you mess up, it's not because you're dumb. It's not because you're untalented. It's not because of whatever you're saying about yourself. It's because of this. Maybe I'm not using my air correctly. Maybe I didn't use my tongue arch the right way. Maybe I didn't use the enough. Maybe I didn't use enough airspeed to get that high note. Maybe I used too much. Maybe I overshot it. Maybe my fingers are too slow, and I have to press down the valves harder to get that tricky passage down. So those are objective judgments that you can place on yourself to make sure that whatever you do, kind of, even if it's positive, you don't want to kind of overhype yourself up. Like, yeah, like I nailed that, because tomorrow you might not. Right? If anyone can relate to this, you practice something yesterday and you feel really good about it. The next day, it seems like you never practiced it at all, right? So if anyone can relate to that, I want you to put a number one in the chat, because I know I'm not the only one, and that's the most frustrating part about music, is that sometimes it takes it takes a while. To it takes a while to get things really ingrained where it's there at least 90% of the time or 80% of the time, you know. So objective judgments. Objective judgments. Try to put, call it what it is. Be the referee. Be that referee in a basketball game. Be that referee in the football game. They're gonna call a play how it is. Is it a foul? Is it this? Is it that? I don't really watch sports, so but just call it what it is. And when you mess up, it's not because you're dumb. It's not because you're untalented. It's because of this. It's because of some pedagogical thing you might have not done. So um, that's what I have to say about that. Okay, I talked about reverse engineer your symptoms. So reverse engineer what makes you nervous. What are the symptoms that happen, right? And then use those things in your practice room. Create those things in your practice room, whatever you have to do. Okay, and then um, right, Omega says same. Simone says uh, I'm getting tons of ones in the chat. He says definitely one. Simone says one day I sound good, and the next day I sound like a dying duck. I mean, we have those days, man. We have those days, but you have to trust the process, and that's why what I say, you have to be objective anytime you're practicing. So record yourself and be objective. Pretend, I would say, to be objective, pretend like it's somebody else. Pretend like it's not even you that you just recorded and you're listening to them play. Pretend like you're trying to help out your buddy become a better player, and you have to give him advice on what him or her or they advice on a certain thing. Especially if Omega says, especially if you miss one day of practice. Hopefully, you're not missing too many days of practice, especially on trumpet, because that could be life or death. Okay, so my last tip is to perform a lot. Perform a lot. Perform a lot, perform a lot, perform a lot. Perform as much as you can, as often as you can. That recital that you have, or that band gig or whatever, that should not be the first time you perform. That shouldn't be the first time you perform. That should be the 10,000th time that you perform that tune, or whatever that set. You even, I would say, if you have the chance, get together with some buddies, put together a group, maybe a quintet, or some put together some duos or some trios, and perform. Perform as much as you can. Go outside and perform some duets, and just get in the habit, or maybe practice outside. There was one there on campus during my undergrad. There was a time where I practiced outside, and everybody can hear me. Everyone, everyone on campus could hear me practice, um, and that has definitely helped me kind of get over my fear of performing, is performing a lot. And what also will really help is I was in a ska band. And ska, if you don't know what ska is, it's the combination of like punk rock and reggae, like together. And there's Real Big Fish. These are our bands, like Real Big Fish, Iron Fist, or Five Iron Frenzy. I think that's the name of the group. And we performed regular shows on campus, regular shows we did house parties. We did regular shows at this one theater in Bloomington Normal, and that really helped me kind of get over my fear of performing, because we were doing that so regularly. Now it wasn't every week, but maybe it was like every month or so. We always had a performance. So really, like, performing a lot has really helped me, because it just, I was used to people looking at me, like staring me in my face while I play, or like being this close to me while I play my instrument. And because it can be intimidating. having so many people watch you perform and do what you do. But if you do it often, you'll kind of get numb to it, just like anything. You get numb to it the more you do it. So even today, a practical way to do that is get on YouTube or get on Instagram, get on Facebook Live, and perform whatever you've been working on. Perform that piece, perform that etude live, and maybe you'll have two people, maybe you'll have zero people, but um, for me, when I always get nervous when I press play. Like anytime before that, when I press play, that's when I get nervous. So it doesn't even matter if anyone's watching or not, because if you have a problem with performance anxiety, those things are gonna come up even when you press play on that record, on that camera, or go live on Instagram. But I didn't have that. I didn't have that maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Like technology has grown so much, and but you guys have that. You guys have the capabilities to go on social media and go live whenever you want to, and just present whatever you're working on. So I would say that that's my other tip is perform a lot. Any chance you get, maybe go on live, get a group together, and perform as much as you can, and just exercise that performance muscle, right? Simone says, bro, if only I lived in your country, I would definitely want you to be my trumpet teacher, man. Man, love from Canada. Man, that's great. Like, I mean, I teach Skype lessons, so it might not be the same thing, might not be the same type of feel if we're in person, but I do give Skype lessons if you're interested or if anyone is interested. Um, Omega says that's something I need to get used to and confidence building. Simone says, bruh, even by just recording myself on my phone, I get nervous, even though I'm literally just recording myself. And that's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. The pressure, it's the pressure that it's in stone, right? That recording seems like it's in stone, and you have to build that confidence to or like get over the fear of listening to yourself. Like even doing these live streams, I'm nervous, right? I'm really nervous talking in front of people because I'm not the best speaker in the world. Like I get really nervous with that. So this is just some. So yeah. So think ask me if I play Fortnite. I do play Fortnite. I'm really bad at it. You don't want to play with me. I'm terrible. I'm terrible at Fortnite. Chris Davis says you're doing great. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. But yeah, but that's kind of my story. That's my story of how I overcame performance anxiety. Just doing all these things, reading books to get my mind together, um, performing a lot. Performing a lot, reading books to get my mind straight, reverse engineer my symptoms of getting nervous. I stopped comparing myself. I really, you have to get a love for yourself and what you're good at. Because in college, when I went to Illinois State University. By no means is it, and this is not a knock on them at all, but by no means is it a jazz school. And so I was the only one interested in jazz, so I really liked improvising, right? So I was kind of like the only one kind of interested in it and good at it, especially in the trumpet studio. So that set me apart from everyone else, and so I really admired myself for that. And it's not to say that I walked around saying like, "Oh, I'm the best improviser in the university or on campus," because that's just silly, right? So, but I gained a type of confidence in myself, a type of confidence in my ability to play the instrument by by really valuing what I'm good at and what I like to do. So find that thing that you're good at, especially within the space of trumpet playing, within the space of playing music. Find that thing that you're good at that no one else can do like you, right? Because that will bring confidence, that will build confidence in yourself rather than always comparing yourself to others and building, like tearing yourself down by saying, like, oh, I'm not as good as them or whatever. So stop comparing yourself. Okay. And so the first thing I addressed was be honest with yourself in that practice room. Don't practice, don't practice the stuff that you're good at and try to perform and try to sound good just for the sake of it because it's fun. It is fun to play things that you're good at. But if you're really practicing, it's not going to sound good at all because you're working on the things you can't do. So I would say that, and that's what I had to realize in my musical life. I was not practicing efficiently. I was not practicing effectively, and you really have to narrow down on what you're not good at and target that stuff. Okay, so those were, I think, 5 or 6 tips. It's not in any particular order, but those are the things that really helped me get over my performance anxiety. Not to say that I never get nervous, because I always get nervous. It's just about how I cope with that nervousness and how I don't let it affect me. Right? So, Zeruo, man, I'm really messing up you guys' name. So Zeruo says, "How long are you playing? How long have you? I guess how long have you been playing trumpet?" I've played trumpet for, man. I always like get stumped on this question. Like 14 years. Yeah, 14 years. Yeah, I did say that last stream. Also, a question about jazz. I've always done classical, but I'm getting into jazz, but I don't know where to start. Any suggestions? Um, I would say watch my interview with Chris Johnson about um, learning jazz standards. It's a new video that I uploaded yesterday. It's a great video. It's one of my best videos, if I say myself. I spent some time editing that video, but the real gold is Professor Chris Johnson's advice on learning jazz standards that everyone should watch. Everyone should get in tune with. And he talks about learning autumn leaves. So I would say, for now, start with learning autumn leaves, the jazz standard autumn leaves. Professor Johnson gives you in that video because it's really good advice, and it will help you. It will help you kind of get your foot in the door with practicing improvisation. Also um, look at my blues, my any of the blues videos that I've done, practicing the blues, or um, blues soloing, an easy approach to blues soloing. So just take a look at that and kind of practice the things that I suggest in the video. Autumn leaves, so I can just search up the. Nah, watch the video because he says don't just search. Listen to the music first. Don't. Jazz is an aural, Aural, an aural art form. You have to use your ears. For classical, it's by sight. It's a visual art form. But for jazz, it's all if you need to develop your ears. So I would say learn the tune, learn Autumn Leaves by ear. And what I would do is just put it on repeat and be able to sing the melody. Because if you can't sing it, then you can't play it. No need to be sorry, but um, that's that's just that's just um, a mistake. Not a mistake, but it's just some things that folks do a lot. Like, oh, I'll just look up the sheet music to learn a song, but when you improvise, there's no sheet music. You have to rely on your ears. So learn the tune by ear, learn the melody. Um, it's going to take some time to learn the harmony and the chord progressions by ear, but that's going to take time. But for now, learn the melody and learn maybe not a whole solo if you're not if you're a beginner. I wouldn't say sit down and learn a whole solo, but learn like a lick, like a 1 or 2 bar, 3 bar lick that really catches your ear. And like when you hear it, you're like, oh, that sounds good. Like I want to learn that. Um, but yeah, learn a line from that solo and try to learn it by ear. Okay. Simone says, I'll definitely watch the video and listen to the song and try to learn it by ear. Don't try, do. Just like what Yoda said, there is no try, there's only do. Do it. Do it. Just listen to it a whole bunch. Just listen to it on repeat, on repeat. Binge listen to it. Listen to it so much. Listen to it so much where you can sing along with it because that's when you know it's really internalized, right? It says, "Fine, I will do it." Good. All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions or any other comments, if you guys if you guys relate to anything that I've said during this live stream, then let me know. Let me know in the comments if you're looking at this on the replay. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments what you do, or what gets you nervous. What kind of symptoms you get when you get nervous. Let me know in the chat or let me know in the comments if you're looking at this on the replay. Um, or if you yourself has you overcame performance anxiety, let me know the things. Let the community know. Let the community know. Let me know the things that you've done to get over like your performance anxiety or how you cope with nervousness when you perform. So other people can read that and get information that way. Because it's all about sharing. I'm all about sharing information here so we all can get better as as trumpet players, and as a music community. So we have to be able to share our knowledge and share our information with each other. Because that's how we move the music forward. That's how we elevate folks' playing level. If we are all on the same level and sharing information that we have. Don't be greedy. Don't be stingy with what you know. Share it with others. All right. All right. So that's it. I just want to plug this. Use this as a plug to, if you haven't seen, if you haven't seen learning the video, learning jazz standards with 7 steps with Chris Johnson. I need you to go see that video because it's an awesome video. I'm really proud of it, and you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot. Zeruo, I think that's how you say your name. What do you think about Avishai Cohen? I think that's how you say his name. He's an awesome player. He's a really interesting player. I there was a time, I don't know if he's still with them, but there was a time where he was with the SF Jazz Collective, and they were doing um, what are they doing? Miles Davis. They're either doing Miles Davis or someone. I can't remember the other artist, but they always feature a legend in the community, and yeah, I love his playing. It's really kind of Milesy, Miles Davis, but it's still abstract, and I like what he's doing. It's different. Always like different. Okay. Chris says, thanks for this video. Struggle with this forever. and it's going to continue it unless you kind of unless you kind of try these things on your own. It's going to continue to be a struggle, and it's not gonna fix itself overnight. So it's gonna take time. Like I said, during undergrad, it was years. It was years to a point where I would be able to play in front of someone and absolutely kill it. Like, and the breakthrough I had, and this was the greatest thing ever. It was my senior recital. And this is gonna be my last story, and I'm gonna go. Um, it was my senior side recital, and I can only remember the joy it brought me as I was performing. Like, I couldn't keep it together because I was so happy. Like, I was crying during while I was performing because I was just enjoying like how I was able to play at such a high level and play and be able to perform the way I performed in the practice room. Because in the practice room and on the bandstand for a long time was a struggle. Like those two things, it was always different results. Like the practice room always sound better than the bandstand, and it was always that struggle. And it wasn't until that moment I had read all these books, I had prepared the music, I had changed my mindset, and then that day where I had to perform, it was a kind of almost the greatest day of my musical career, because that's when I realized that I'd done the work, I had done the grunt work and the mental work to get me to this point where I can play music and I didn't worry about anything, and I played so well, in my opinion. I I played the way I wanted to play. I played the way I wanted to play, and I was so happy that I was so happy that I was crying while I was playing, and I was messing up because I was so happy that all the stuff that I was doing before, it was coming together, and I was playing my ass off, and it was great. Like, but after that piece was over, I was like, I need to get myself together. I can't let my emotions get to me right now. Um, I have to perform this music and put on a good show. So yeah, that's my story. Like that's when I knew like I had gotten over my performance anxiety, and it was a great day. So hopefully you guys have that day one day, have that moment where you get on stage. You get on stage and the bandstand sounds almost as good or even better than how you practice in the practice room. So I'm not saying that all these things would be a guarantee if you do these steps, but it's at least a shot. If you try to do this stuff, if you do this stuff, and it's at least it will get you closer to what you want to be and where you want to be musically. So that's all I have to say about that. Simone says, "Thanks for the stream. Keep up the good work. I will do my best. I will not try." Michael says best. He says best method book. Um, I don't know. I don't know if there's a best method book, but I really like the Irons book. That's really helped me with breath control and breath support. Because breath control and breath support are different things, but they're kind of similar. So that book has really helped me. And I struggled. One of my weaknesses in trumpet playing, and it still is, but I'm working it. I'm working on it. Is flexibility, and so that's a good book to work on flexibility, breath support, and breath control. So I would say it's not the best. I wouldn't say it's the best book. It's the best book that has helped me. So I would say yeah, the Irons, Earl Irons Flexibilities book. Chris Fiddler says, have gotten better, can get through a solo playing for seniors at work. Picking up the right level of pieces has helped. Yeah, definitely. Pick some accessible stuff. Something that is a challenge, but isn't way beyond your capabilities. And I actually don't know how to quantify like what is way beyond your abilities or how to test that. But I guess the best way to do that is get a teacher because they would know what you can or cannot do at the time. So, yes, definitely for your recital, pick something that's a little bit on the edge of what you can do. That's a little bit challenging. Pick always pick something that's slow and melodic and ballad like because those are typically easier, even though I even proved on another live stream about lyrical etudes that sometimes lyrical playing can be just as hard as technical playing. So pick something that's easy, something in your grasp that you can just just really pour all of your musicality into and perform it really well at a high level. And pick something in the middle, whatever the middle may be. All right, so all right, well, I think I'm going to end this live stream here. I think I'll have to pick up my wife pretty soon from work. I think she gets off in like 15 minutes. So I'm going to do that. Guys, if you've enjoyed this live stream, 70 minutes of it, I need you to like it or dislike it. Either way, I need people to tell me, give me some feedback on these live streams so I can know what to do and what not to do more of. But let me know in the comments for you guys looking at this. Let me know in the comments if you kind of want to do somewhat of a book club thing where the masterclass I kind of take a chapter and I talk about the chapter either from this book or from the inner game of tennis, and we can just discuss because that was actually a masterclass in my undergrad. We actually talked about these books. It was an assignment, so that's why I have these books. So that's actually what we've done in a masterclass in my undergrad. We'll talk about these books in class. There was no playing. Omega says we should try it out, so maybe I'll try it out. If you guys have the book, then we can go through the book together. So that's an idea, just throwing it out there. But yeah, I'm gonna be out of here. You guys have a great day, a great evening, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, peace.